Welcome back to the channel, my friends. I am Kevin. This is Reading the Room. Today we're going to talk about a subject that I haven't seen many videos on. The THENNS. For some reason, nobody has covered them. Normally, this is going to sound crazy, you have a few conspiracy channels that live all, north of the wall, Essos, other places, but most mainstream channels try to keep their stuff in Westeros, south of the wall. So nobody's really talked about the THENNS, because there's a lot of stuff about them, but apparently they're just not interesting to people. So in this video, we're going to cover who they were, where they lived, their cultures, beliefs, they think they're the truest heirs to the First Men. We're going to talk about that. What roles they played in, the war with Mance Rayder, what they did during Robert's Rebellion, the War of the Five Kings, and what they did after, which is actually pretty interesting. That's what we're going to talk about in this video, so enjoy. So who are the THENNS? The THENNS are actually atypical among the free folk, where they live in a small, fertile valley far beyond the wall, protected by the mountains. It basically shelters them from some of the worst cold and some of the worst winters. It's a more hospitable area than the surrounding wilderness, which has allowed limited farming, which again is atypical. So most free folk live in small, scattered bands. They have loose and shifting leadership, and they raid and migrate as needed. But the THENNS, by contrast, are highly organized. They have laws, customs, and a hierarchy, which is more akin to a small kingdom rather than a band of raiders. They live as settled people, farmers, warriors, and not just raiders. They have a weird thing called a Magnar, which is a title and not a personal name. It more than likely means lord or great one in the old tongue. The Magnar rules as he rules the THENNS as a hereditary lord. He commands loyalty from his people, and to the THENNS, serving the Magnar isn't slavery. It's not being a serf, it's not being a peasant, it's a tradition. It's an identity and an order. Just like where they lived, their culture, appearance, and beliefs are also much different than most free folk. Based on the books, the THENN warriors are better armed and armored than most free folk. They are equipped with bronze weapons and bronze and leather armor. They're often described as well-fed and well-supplied thanks to their valley. Their fighting styles, they use shields, spears, axes, and show more discipline and cohesion than the typical wildling raiders. Raiders are basically what the wildlings are. Light, fast-moving, get in and out, where the THENNS are closer to an ancient infantry line. In the Game of Thrones show, the THENNS are portrayed as especially brutal, even cannibalistic. Important note here, that is just a show portrayal, where the books are not like that. They're disciplined and harsh, but never described as cannibals. The religion in the old ways for the THENNS, they worship the old gods of the forest, just like other free folk and many northern houses. They are rooted in the culture of the First Men. The old tongue survives among some free folk. The THENNS, clearly tied to this. They are, like I said, they claim to be the direct heirs or descendants from the First Men. Their society and attitude is communal, but strongly loyal to the Magnar. They have a sense of law, duty, and order, which is, again, from the shows or the books, wildly unusual for wildlings. And their views of others are, they tend to see other wildlings as chaotic and undisciplined, which, facts. Among the free folk, they come across almost as like the nobility caste above or beyond the wall. Like I said before, the THENNS claim the true blood of the First Men runs through their veins. Funny story though, most of the free folk actually claim the same. Most are descended from the First Men, the original human inhabitants of Westeros. Houses like the Starks, Umbers, Karstarks, and others proudly claim this ancestry as well. But what makes the THENNS kind of stand out is the THENNS live in isolation beyond the wall, far from Andal conquest or southern culture, keeping the old gods, the old customs, and a more ancient way of life. They maintain an ordered, clan-based society deeply rooted in tradition, and because of this, culturally they resemble what the first men may have actually looked like thousands of years ago before the mixing and changing between them and the Andals. Their self-image is kind of not spelled out in a single quote, but the THENNS see themselves as the true heirs to the first men, more than the kneelers to the south, which kind of makes sense if you think about it in the context of everything that I just said. The Southern Lords boast of ancient bloods, but at the end of the day, everyone south of the Wall did actually bend the knee, and the THENNS never did. Now, this is where the THENNS' lack of written history comes into play, is the wars and conflicts before Mance Rayder. So, in the books, they don't really give a detailed chronological history of every THEN battle. Their wars are mostly unwritten but implied. Likely types of conflicts for the THENNS are the same as every other, group of the Free Folks. They fought other Free Folk clans for territory, grazing rights, and honor. They clashed with the Night's Watch during raids and ranger patrols, and they probably took part in campaigns of past kings beyond the Wall when their Magnar chose to do so. Their position among the Free Folk would probably be extremely important because they actually had disciplined troops with great equipment. They would naturally serve as like the elite infantry shock troops or as a core battle line whenever wildling forces united. Now, under Mance Rayder, Mance's goal was to unite all Free Folk, and not to, start a conquest, but simply to get all of the Free Folk united and for them to survive south of the Wall before the White Walkers destroyed them all. The Magnar's importance with Mance Rayder was, again, he was one of the most important leaders north of the Wall. So obviously, yes, he would be one of the most important leaders. But he also brought the disciplined armored corps to a mostly irregular army. His warriors actually followed orders and could act as the backbone in a battle. After the Fist of the First Men, the Night's Watch ranging was basically destroyed by the White Walkers. They just didn't have the numbers to send. Elite troops would be stressing it, but some of their best fighters in small groups north of the Wall for reasons. So that left the Watch weakened and opened a way for Mance's host to press south. The THENNS helped maintain order in the Free Folk. They served as, again, a central fighting force as they approached the Wall. During the assault on the Wall, again, the THENNS were present as frontline fighters in the attacks on Castle Black. In the show, they raid villages south of the Wall, and they are heavily featured in the Battle of Castle Black, fighting directly against Jon Snow and the Night's Watch. In the books, their presence is less than flashy, but still important because, again, for the 50,000th time, they were well-armed warriors inside Mance's larger, mostly ill-armed warriors. Now, just for shits and giggles, I wanted to find as much information as I could of what the THENNS were doing during Robert's Rebellion, because that was kind of a big deal, and what they were doing during the War of the Five Kings, which again was kind of a big deal. So, shocker, during Robert's Rebellion, they didn't have a direct role. Again, not shocked. So, doesn't matter what they did. For obvious reasons, they probably knew about it, but stayed the fuck out of it. They lived far beyond the Wall. Nobody goes north of the Wall. You might get a Stark king every, now and again deciding he wants to go north of the Wall to put down some rebellion, but otherwise, they really didn't care. During the War of the Five Kings, there was a little bit more action. Simply because the War of the Five Kings pitted Joffrey, Stannis, Renly, Robb Stark, and Balon Greyjoy against each other. They didn't take place in the fighting, but because the North was starting to weaken because of all the wars and the distractions between all the great houses, it made it really hard for the Night's Watch to get any type of reinforcements or supplies, which is great for the Free Folk. So the Wall was already guarded by let's just put not the best. They weren't the cream of the crop. They were already undermanned, underfunded, and politically isolated. Then Mance Rayder decided, we might have a shot here, and that's when Mance Rayder decided he was going to take all the free folk south. Because everybody was distracted, that helped them make the decision to press an attack on the wall during that time, because everybody else was too busy killing each other to care what was happening at the wall. And again, like I mentioned before, the THENNS served as some of the best equipped warriors in the Wildling army. In the show, they were front and center. In the books, not so much. The war they were really fighting was simply to just escape the White Walkers at that point. So that's what they were doing there. This is the part that kind of is the most interesting to me, because I, try to know everything about everything in Game of Thrones at this point. For centuries, the THENNS were so isolated north of the wall. They were labeled wildlings, savages by everyone in the south, so there was no known marriages between THENNS and any noble houses in the Seven Kingdoms at the time. Then there was a crucial marriage. I believe it was put together by Jon Snow between, I think it's something, oh god, why am I, it's the son of Styr, the then Magnar of the Thenn. He died, and his son Sigorn, I'm probably butchering that, becomes the new Magnar of the Thenn. In the Dance of the Dragons, Lady Alice Karstark flees to the wall to escape a forced marriage by her scheming uncles, for lack of a better term. And this is when Jon Snow, Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, goes, hey, wouldn't it be cool? And then he arranged a wedding between Alice Karstark and Sigorn, Magnar of the Thenn. This marriage officially ties the THENNS to northern nobility, creating a new House Thenn as a noble house of the north. So what a turn of events! And so this sets up Sigorn and Alice as potential future rulers of Karhold if her brothers die without heirs, or if they just wanted to. I feel like they probably could. So this is a political strategy to both protect her from her hostile uncles, brothers, whatever, and to secure a strong Karstark-Thenn alliance loyal to the Watch and to the north, bringing the free folk, starting with the THENNS, into the political nonsense, the political soup of the north, instead of leaving them as perpetual enemies north of the wall. So the result is the Thenn Magnar isn't just a wildling warlord anymore. He actually became a northern lord by marriage. Oh, which is wild. That's canon. That's canon stuff. There's no existence before that of anything like that happening. And this is where we're going to go into past that. So after the wall fell, what happened to the THENNS, their legacy, whatever. So after the assault by Stannis and his arrival, he rides north, shatters Mace's hosts outside the wall. Later, Jon Snow negotiates to let many of the free folk south of the wall, including the surviving THENNS. Stannis also comes to the wall and intervenes. The first part was the show. In the book, Stannis also intervenes. Jon negotiates with different free folk groups, resettles some of them south. The long-term fate in the books is kind of just like, okay, we know that they married into a northern house, but the Magnar did, not everyone else. So, under Jon Snow, the free folk shifted from enemy raiders to potential allies. The THENNS were now part of the north, had to be weary of the outsiders at that point. Though Sigurd and Alice Karstark married, the THENNS moved from their secret valley beyond the known world, and they became recognized as a northern house. That's where I'm just going to stop there, because, well, that's where we stopped. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I haven't really seen many people cover the THENNS in general, which I think is crazy, because they have like one of the most interesting stories of any of the free folk, because again, they were God, they were close to the First Men. They were much closer to the South by just how they acted than anything else, even though they were arguably one of the furthest houses from anything south of the Wall. They had a pecking order that everybody knew, and it seems like with everybody else, it's like you had your main guy, and everybody else just kind of go where you fit, I guess. So that's it. I don't know. I'm running out of ideas at this point for random Game of Thrones subjects that aren't regularly talked about. I don't like covering the main shit because everybody's heard that a million times, but I like covering the obscure nonsense. So if you guys have any ideas, drop it in the link. I know I've been bouncing back and forth between a bunch of different topics, not just Game of Thrones, Star Wars, stuff like that. I might go back to that because that made me much happier than just getting bogged down in George R.R. Martin nonsense. Like I said, though, a lot of this channel is my everything catch-all channel. Random stuff that happens on the internet, random books, movies, TV shows, all that shit will get covered. So I'll probably start knocking down some doors on other topics, other series, whatever. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Peace.